This is otherwise state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Russell.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Russell.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Russell. Time to strap it up and get to the show. Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous, episode 92 from IA Russell. I'm Tony Hager, joined as always by Ross Bartachek. Great weekend, a hot weekend it was. Lots of news, behind the scenes, little rumors, whatnot. And then obviously at Akron had some positives and negatives, I guess, Ross. But, I was really doing kind of the family thing this weekend, gearing up for this weekend, going out to Omaha. But, how was your weekend other than watching wrestling for like a couple of days?
I mean, you nailed it. It was hot. Got to enjoy a little bit of weather around the house. Got to, spend some time with the wife. But yeah, mainly, especially Sunday morning, I was definitely glued to the monitor watching the happenings in Akron. What did you take away from it, I guess? I mean, obviously Brandon Sorensen came away with a title, but other college, Iowa State took a slew of guys. I was pretty impressed with them actually, stepping up on the mat after, the kind of the changing of guard here, who was all bought in, and seems like, Dresser's got them bought in. Yeah, it was, like you said in the opening, there was some good, there was some bad. I would say the more surprising thing, just high level from Akron, was I kind of went back and looked last year at how many guys Iowa State, Grandview, UNI took out, and it seemed like overall there was more medalists coming home with hardware. And, this year wasn't a world team year, so it's just kind of surprising that, if it's a world team year, usually some tougher competition shows up. So there was a couple guys that went home empty-handed that you're probably a little more nervous going into the season. You would have liked to see something a little more out of.
Well, we'll get into that, but I think really the news, I guess, or what kind of caught our eye was Brody Teske. Brody Teske tweeted out, or Instagram, that he was touching the lion, and it was an unofficial visit, but the fact that he was out there, I think kind of for me, I think everyone just kind of penciled it in as going to be an in-state guy. UNI, Iowa State, Iowa's on him. I know Iowa State, and they're all heavy on him. I know Iowa has offered him, from what I've been told anyways. But I guess, did you know Penn State was on his radar, I guess?
Teske, he's kind of like Thompson. He's playing it close to the vest. The only thing we really know is he's got 7 schools. That's what he told, who was it? Chris Cellular from Register?
Cuellar,
sorry. He's going to butcher me for that. So, he's got 7 schools, and he said it was the 3 in-state schools, so that left 4. I imagine the big programs, Ohio State, Oklahoma was a school he was kind of high on before Roselli took over. So you kind of wondered if those guys were in on him too. Something to kind of note about Penn State, though, if you think about, I think it was Happel. Happel had Penn State in his top 5, and then Stroker had Penn State, early on. I don't know if they kind of stayed on late, if interest backed off. But, Campbell hasn't been afraid to come into the state and go after the top guy. So, it was definitely interesting to see him there posing with the Nittany Lion. What did you think of it?
Let's just say I like it. I like that he's going around and taking his visits. I think sometimes some of these guys, these coaches probably get in their ears, and I know he's training at the RTC and Ames, and you got to imagine those guys are in his ear as much as they possibly can. So I think everyone just assumes that he's going in state. And, with Penn State, they've already got Gavin Teasdale, RBY. So, I mean, they've got some guys there at the lower weights. So, maybe Teskey's using it for some leverage, maybe for in-state. You never know. I mean, these are 17-year-old kids, and if I was them, I'd take as many visits as possible. This one was unofficial, so this was on the Teskey dime. So it wasn't like Penn State. Maybe Penn State isn't actively recruiting him, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he's saving it for that official. I'm not sure, but I was surprised a little bit. But things are heating up, obviously, with Thompson. Committing to Nebraska. So now he's the top prize in Iowa.
Yeah, and speaking of him being the top prize, I got to throw that plug out there. Where the hell is Lars Fab 50? We've been teasing that for a while now, Tony.
Yeah, it's. I think the top 10 is pretty locked in, but I think Lars is maybe struggling with the other 40. So it lost a lot of kids. Really lost a lot of kids, and there's a lot of good names actually in this class. This junior class, going to be seniors. This will definitely be one of our best classes that Iowa's had for, I think, for a long time. I mean, Freddie Stroker, Max Thompson, those two guys obviously were a huge class. 2003, back when Mac Ryder was there, the Paulsons, all those guys. That was a big class. So this is going to be a team that I think the Dream Team Classic should be in Iowa. Someone should come and try to take on this Iowa team. What are your thoughts on that?
This is the year that they're going to put a show on for against Team USA. They definitely got the firepower. They do have quite a few guys stacked up at that lower weights that maybe it'd be better if they can spread themselves out, give themselves a better chance. But obviously Teskey, Thompson are the two guys that get the most national love, but Millage is in there. Shapiro, obviously we talk about him a lot. Grant Stotts is a tough kid. So there's a lot of really good guys that, maybe are just on the cusp of being ranked. Nelson Brands. I mean, those are those guys that are fringe top 20 now that are probably going to be showing up if they have a good Fargo run here this summer. And I think you're right. This would be a good team Iowa to face in the Dream Team Classic. I
mean, just just looking at your article after you posted this, you saw his Instagram post. I mean, the guys that are there, do you think that there's room for Teskey? I mean, when I keep hearing these recruits that they're going, like, where are they putting all these guys? They've got to be somehow telling them, we're going to find a way for you in the lineup. I don't know how they do it, especially with Teasdale and RBY there. There's been rumors that, Bravo Young might be leaving Penn State. So, maybe that would open up a spot for him. I don't know, but nothing's really been official. So, where would they slot him at? Is he going to get bigger?
I would think, Teasdale's got more size on him. So maybe Teasdale could go to 33 and you got a career 25-pounder, hopefully, with Teskey. I think I can't remember what you said when Chris, interviewed for Teskey for that article earlier this April, what kind of size you saw him as. But he obviously, maybe he could grow to a 33, but he definitely looks like a 25 right now. They obviously got Nick Suriano for 3 more years, so there wouldn't be too much more overlap because, he'll be a sophomore this year. Brody Redshirt's getting there. It's really only 1 year overlap. But I think it's kind of like you already hinted at. Maybe it's just driving up that price, getting the experience going out to Penn State, making sure, that didn't feel like home. But I'm not sure that there's a whole lot to it.
Yeah, I mean, the leverage obviously I think is great. I mean, you're selling yourself, right? But here's what is kind of confusing too. Thompson and Teskey, we didn't know really where they're leading to, right? These guys are keeping things so quiet that you put something out like that, it kind of puts things in perspective for maybe these other schools. Be like, oh, homeboy might be not just in Iowa. Maybe he doesn't want it. He wants to leave Fort Dodge. So. Yeah, another thing I saw too this weekend was Drew Bennett. Drew Bennett put out a little teaser too, and I don't know if a lot of people caught that, but he took a picture or put a picture up of Tristan Lara, and it says something like, we'll see you soon, maybe, or we're hate to see my teammate leave or something, but we could be seeing you soon. Obviously, Tristan Lara at Northern Iowa now, are going to be going to Northern Iowa, so I mean that could be a big pickup for UNI too. But I know I asked him, and he's got multiple visits to go to, so UNI is not a lock yet, but that'd be a good pickup for a lower weight.
Yeah, I mean, it'd definitely be a good program to kind of sneak into, and you get Lara. Obviously, Cade Lara is a guy we talked about a lot. You get Bennett, maybe that kind of helps you with Teskey too. Fort Dodge is a really good program. It's kind of like Southeast Polk. You want as many of those guys on your roster as you can get, because they're obviously quality high school guys. They go to the Cheesehead Classic. They obviously do really well in Iowa's largest class. So you want to be picking from those programs that are, they go against and scrap with good guys every day, and maybe you can turn them into something really good here on the college scene.
Do you think is his stock at all with some of his freestyle results? Do you feel like his stock is stayed the same, or has it gone down a little bit with some of his results this summer, or do you think it stays the same? Because how much do coaches really buy into they always say that Fargo means a lot, but at the end of the day, some of these guys don't transition as well into freestyle. So, I mean, do you think his stock has gone down a little bit?
That's a tough question, Tony.
I'm here for, right? Boom.
Yeah. Obviously his Northern Plains wasn't great. Bounced back to a nice cadet nationals. I think he only lost to the eventual world team member there. So kind of a nice bounce back. One of the things that, and we've talked about this too with Teskey, Wrestling, Thompson, we've said, in a freestyle match, you probably want to take Thompson because that's just where his style's geared toward, whereas Teskey, you kind of like him a little bit better in folk style. He's a lot tougher on top. He's a little bit more mean on top, I think. He's definitely, good from neutral, and that's obviously why he's a Fargo finalist. But, I think he bounced back well enough at cadet, Sear, and Akron to – I think his stock is a wash because, it's kind of a bummer to see him go down, but I say it's a wash.
I think so too. I think Fargo is going to be, he had great Fargo last year, not a good finals, but Decatur was looked like he weighed 5 times much than Teskey did in that final. So I think if he goes out and has another good, Fargo, his national ranking is going to stay where it's at, and he's not going to lose any offers, that's for sure. Some of these coaches might pull their offers, though. That's the one problem too nowadays is coaches are recruiting as early as they possibly can and trying to put money where they can, and that they're wanting that commitment as quick as possible. So if you're not if you're interested or you're playing games, they'll move on to somebody else. I don't know if that's Teskey's case, but I know other coaches are saying that we have to move quick nowadays because the recruiting game is so tough. Well, let's move on. You got anything else?
No, I wanted to know what this big news is that we kind of teased. What's going on?
Well, I kind of teased it. I did tease it. Yeah, big Class 3A transfer news. What I was hoping to break it, I guess, but it's not finalized yet. So what's happening is, what I do know is that Southeast Polk is on the cusp of getting a pretty big transfer from the Class 3A. So another guy coming into Southeast Polk to, I'm wearing their shirt. I just happen to be wearing their shirt. I don't know if I've just been talking about them for the last couple of days that I just saw it and I decided to put it on. So I can't release who it is because it is not finalized. We're talking about high school kids, so want to give the respect to the families of who's all involved. But from everything that I've been told, pretty big recruit for Southeast Polk. Obviously, they got Cade DeVos last year. He came in and was a finalist, so they're picking up another kid that's been on the stand before. So to pick up somebody that's a state medalist, that obviously helps your team out as well. So stay tuned to that. We'll be telling that story here, hopefully next podcast. So sorry for the, I guess, what do you call that? Fake news or the misleading tweets. But I thought I was going to do it, and then something happened where I decided against it right now. So big news out of Southeast Polk, Class 3A once again.
Is it Dan Gable?
Yeah,
You're wearing a Dan Gable hat, so I was just wondering if it was Danny.
Well, I was with Dan Gable all day today, actually, too. We were hitting up a couple of different advertisers, and I was with Dan Gable today, and I saw the hat, and I had to put the hat on, too. So if I'm talking about it, I guess I'm going to wear it. I just happen to have it. So I got my Dan Gable camo hat on. It's pretty sick.
That's styling.
Anyway, so that's big news out of high school. Hopefully we can get to that. But I think that the bigger news that we kind of, I don't know, with Akron going on, kind of got swept under the rug a little bit, but maybe because it's not official, but UNI going to the Big 12. Not official yet, but I've got Nick Ryder and myself got multiple sources from Big 12 coaches that this is a 99% positivity that UNI will be joining the Big 12 conference. So I don't know about you, but this excites me as far as just the dual possibilities, previewing the duels, talking about them. A lot more exciting than the MAC. You know, the MAC's got a Missouri, so there's some competitive duels there. But this, you know, Oklahoma State, SDSU. Anytime you get SDSU on the schedule, you know, with Bono, what those guys are doing out there, just makes it fun to just talk about because they're putting a good quality product on the mat now.
Oh, man, this is big news for UNI. I remember when they joined the MAC, when they left the WWC, and they went there, and it was, you know, I think even Doug at the time was kind of thinking like this would be a better move for them recruiting-wise because they get to, you know, they're saying like, hey, we're in a tougher conference. We're going on the road. We're wrestling Central Michigan, you know, Northern Illinois, tougher teams. And then that's not to really bag on, you know, the WWC teams who are in the Big 12 now. But at the time, you know, Doug was really excited about it. And obviously we've seen since those WWC teams have gotten to the Big 12, I think they really benefited from being in that conference even in a short time. Like you said, South Dakota State, that program's on the rise. Seeing some good things out of Northern Colorado. Nickerson's really turning that program around. So there's some really good things going on with those old WWC schools. North Dakota State, they're all doing, they got some good guys there, and, you know, UNI can come in and maybe they can start, you know, putting guys to challenge for Big 12 titles. That would be really interesting to see. So
you got the Big 12 get more, more qualifications, you think?
I think this is a huge hit to, like, Missouri. Obviously they're going to run through the MAC, but this is going to hurt their auto qualifying bids. I mean, if you have a bad tournament, now you're at the mercy of a wild card. If you're Missouri, I think this helps, you know, UNI. They're going to have more chances to steal bids. It's pretty tough to steal a bid in the MAC. Usually the two guys at a given weight are pretty tough, and this will give a chance for some of those middle tier guys to step up in the postseason and run with it.
Warrior Sports Updates ask, how big of an impact will UNI, you know, going to the Big 12 have on, their program and the conference? I mean, you know, Ross, I think as far as recruiting goes, I don't know the big difference between like getting recruits. Hey, we're in the MAC or we're in the Big 12. Yeah, I don't. Maybe there's a little bit more of a sex appeal, I guess, to being in the Big 12, just because of Oklahoma State. Yeah, I think it is. It's going to be better for recruiting just because those big names are going to be, you know, on campus. And, you know, what I think is huge for it is the possibility of going to the McLeod Center. Daniel Magna asked if we're going to be in the McLeod Center, and we saw it with the MAC championships. They had the finals there, and I believe, did they have the preseason or the postseason nationals in the McLeod too?
They put the finals in the McLeod Center, yep.
Yeah, so, you know, we know that logistically it looks good, and I think they're going to have like those Okie states, and Northern Iowa is going to have to be competitive in them to bring in a big crowd. Now I know that Schwab was on here last week talking a little bit, and he gave me some grief on Twitter about he likes it being hot. He likes it being hot in the West Gym, but in the end, you want to fill as many butts in the seats as possible. So yeah, it'd be great, to sell 2,000 seats out, and you really have that, on the mat feel. I love that atmosphere. War at West Gym was just killer. But if you can put in 5,000 people in the McLeod Center, that's better for your program, bringing in more revenue. So I think, as this Big 12 grows and Iowa State comes to town, you can put $5K in the seats for Iowa State, I think, or Iowa State versus UNI.
I just think, it's really big because now they get to, when obviously they got this arms race going on, Iowa and Iowa State really taking, they're making big moves, power moves for the country, with the guys they're adding. And UNI, it's got to be tough. Doug will tell you he likes being the underdog, but, at the end of the day, he's still got to go in the room. And at the time, he's saying, he doesn't get to say, hey, we're going to go wrestle Oklahoma State every year. We're going to go to Oklahoma. He doesn't have all the top 20 programs that Iowa State could walk in the room and say. So now he's got that, that, like you said, that sex appeal. He can go in there and say, hey, we go down to Oklahoma State. Hey, last year it was pretty cool when Max Thompson and Bryce Steyer put up big wins, in front of that Oklahoma State crowd and got to quiet him up, and he can use that for recruits that, he can go toe-to-toe with Iowa State now a little bit in there, and Iowa too, but, obviously Big Ten's a lot deeper overall. It's just it's just another chip in his corner, and he'll play up that underdog role, but this is a big move. All three Iowa schools really, striking the iron this offseason, making some big splashes.
They are. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Dresser makes this move, and then they grab, Metcalf and these guys. Then Iowa goes out and gets Perry, kind of beefs up their RTC. Now UNI, makes the move to the Big 12. Probably was in the works prior to Dresser getting announced. We don't know exactly how long this has been talked about, but so big moves out of really everybody in the state, and I love it, and I hope recruiting picks up. I hope every school really is fighting for Brody Teske, right? So you just don't assume that everyone's going to Iowa or Iowa State, UNI. Every school really is in it for every guy. That's going to be better for our kids in Iowa if all schools are fighting for these guys. So Big 12, welcome it. I can't wait to see the big duels. I mean, I like West Gym, and I guess I shouldn't have an opinion because I've never been to an actual duel inside West Gym. I haven't been, but I've seen them on video. We've done broadcasts from there. Nick Ryder does it, and it looks intense. It looks basically like a high school duel. One of the big rivalries that you see, those guys, just people on the mat. And I know that's a huge appeal to Doug Schwab, but I would be surprised if he turned down $5K, $7,500 at the McLeod Center for a big duel. So great for UNI. Anything else in regards to UNI?
They just kind of we can transition over to UWWs if that's good with you.
Yeah.
They took just a couple guys, 7 or 8 maybe. Nick will probably correct me because he's a big UNI homer and he's watching right now. But obviously they had really good performances from, Max Thompson at 70 kilos and Jake Holschlag at 86. So UNI, I mean, they didn't take a lot of guys, but the guys they took performed. I think it was kind of crazy to see, not crazy, it was interesting to see Holschlag down at 86. They obviously have an All-American Drew Foster at 84. And you kind of wonder, he was a national qualifier at 97. Obviously, that's where the opening is. Do you think he just wants to wrestle off Hoffman there? Tyler Hoffman, who was, I believe, round of 12 out at University Nationals up at 97 kilos. So it just, maybe Holschlag's going to make a run at Drew Foster. And we were kind of talking about how, Iowa State making all these moves, which prompts Iowa to make a move, which is making UNI make a big splash. And maybe that's what we're going to see with Jake Holschlag. He's going after the 84 spot in the lineup. Maybe that's going to push Drew Foster to be better. So UNI could, they had some good things happen at this tournament, and their guys put in some pretty good performances. And I'm really looking forward to see what happens at that, 184, 197 pounds next year.
Did you watch the Thompson Sorensen match?
Yeah, it was. I think Sorensen scored first with Thompson was on the shot clock, and then Sorensen got put on the shot clock in the second period. So Thompson was leading on criteria, and then when he needed to, Sorensen got that takedown with about 1:20 left in the match. So there wasn't just a lot going on until pretty much it came down to do or die to get going for Sorensen. It seemed like.
I need to watch the match. I'm a big Thompson fan. Been a big Thompson fan since coming out of obviously Iowa, getting the four titles. So he really is going to be the face of that program, and obviously Brandon Sorensen is too much for him here. So you and I. Go ahead.
I'd say the other thing about Sorensen, he's a big 49-pounder. We know he gets pretty big in the offseason, 70 kilos. He's still cutting some good weight to get there. And I don't know if Thompson's a particularly big 49-pounder. He's obviously good size, but I think, there's a little bit more, Sorensen's just a tough guy. 70 kilos is going to be perfect for him, I think, when he gets out of college and maybe sticks around HWC or whatnot. But I think that's going to be good weight for him.
Did you expect to have more guys in the finals from Iowa?
From Iowa in general, I was surprised to see Earl Hall up at 65 kilos. Apparently he's been eating. Him and Joel Shapiro have been buds or something on that side of town out there in Des Moines. So I thought Earl Hall would have made noise at 61. Tyler Hoffman and Stephen Holloway, Iowa, 97 kilo guy. There just really didn't seem like anybody at 97 at this tournament. So really just kind of thought anybody could step up, make a run. Cole Erickson, did you see his tournament? Cole Erickson, he's from Minneapolis, went to Iowa.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and then he transferred to Co after his red shirt. He made it all the way to the semifinals at 70 kilos. And I think he ended up losing then to Thompson for 5th place after making the semis. But that was pretty crazy. I know Kofal DC Elite was probably a little torn up watching that 5th, 6th place match with 2 of his DC Elite boys going at it. But at the same time, it's pretty cool to see, 2 local boys from this area getting some, top 6 at University Nationals. And 3 of the top 6 came from Iowa. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there was just so many hammers at that tournament. I can only imagine going there, and you not only are you getting the college guys, but you're also getting, you're getting the high school kids in there too. And looking at the results, I guess we talked about Teskey, got 3rd place. I believe he had a tough semifinal bout. Shapiro got 3rd place. So, the up those weights, he's still being, able to compete, and he's feeling good there. Drake Ayala, 5th place, fifth place finish out there. So I think he's going to be pretty happy with that. What do you think of Cullen at 4th place? He went down to Ragusin, and I think that was a matchup possibly we were trying to get at the night of conflict. So this might fuel that fire a little bit to maybe try to get that matchup again. He lost 6-0.
Yeah, I think he lost his first match to Jeremiah Reno in the semifinals, if that sounds right. And Reno's one of the tougher guys. I'm trying to think back when they were both middle schoolers, and I think Flo and Intermat both had them within 2-3 spaces of each other in their junior high ranking. So these have always been guys that have been pretty close. in talent. And so he lost that match. Reno was the runner-up last year. And so it's a tough tournament, obviously, you know. I don't know. I thought Colin was going to really make a run for it, even at the weight with the world champ Kurt McHenry. But, you know, I guess he's just going to tune it up for Fargo and maybe win another title there.
Yeah, I mean, Siebel tweeted out something, you know, the real prize is Fargo. So I guess, you know, maybe gearing them up for that or easing into Fargo. You know, I'm sure they've got a plan for him as far as training-wise goes. So we got Cadet National Duels, I believe, next week. So we were going to try to have TJ on this week, and next week we we're going to try to have it on, but he'll be at the duels. So, you know, he's opened up that club up in Ames, which would be great to have people in Central Iowa going to Siebel Wrestling Academy. You know, you can find all that information on our website as well. But hopefully TJ will be coming on here in a couple weeks to be talking about that. But, you know, then K. DeVos, 6th place, and then Hunter DeJong, 7th place finish, came back on the backside and finished there. And then Guy Snow and Gamia, 3rd and 4th place. It was a 4-man round robin. So I don't know the other guys at that weight class of, you know, how tough that bracket was. But ended up getting, you know, some medals, you know, in Akron. So then there were some guys at Southern Plains, Max Southard. Dude, I'm a big Max Southard fan. I guess I've kind of expressed that a little bit on here a couple of times, and Tanner Abbas as well. A couple of guys that you know, had some success out there, and we were talking as far as getting qualified for Fargo. Now there's only one tournament left. It was Kirk saying it was
just for cadets or something. Yeah, because and I could be way wrong on this, but you know, they have the Western Regional, you know, that's out at Vegas the same time as the U.S. Open. For some reason, I was thinking that's only juniors wrestle out at the Western Regional. So then they do the cadet ones now, which is why it's just cadet in Idaho. And I could be completely wrong, but that's just what I made up, so we're going to go with it.
You're usually right, so we'll go with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know I don't think Kirk has got a list of how many qualifiers we do have for Fargo. So I'd be curious to see what that's like compared to, you know, other years. So other news, I guess, you know, Brett Irwin, he's going to transfer to App State. He was a state champ for Centerville. Kind of forgot about him, to be honest with you. I mean, he went to Nyack. And, you know, he wrestled in some open tournaments, and then he went to Central Missouri. And this is kind of a cool story. I don't know if you had a chance to read the article. We just put the news up on the website here tonight. But he basically asked for his release from Central Missouri, and then he just started emailing and calling Division I schools asking if they would be interested in his services. So I thought that was pretty cool that he, you know, took the initiative. 'Cause there's lots of kids out there just I don't know how to explain this. Just assume that they should get it, I guess. I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? Entitled. People they're just entitled to Division I status. And I always see the statistics. People put it on Twitter and Facebook all the time, like how many kids actually in wrestling get scholarships or go wrestling. It's like just ridiculously low numbers compared to the other sports. So, you know, just because you're a state champ doesn't mean you're going to be able to go Division I. So I think, you know, I thought it was just pretty cool that the kid just, you know, he hasn't had the success that he's wanted. He went to a couple open tournaments. He was 14-8 last season, he said. And, you know, he thinks he's D1 ready. So he's going to go out and get it. He's got 3 years left if you got red shirt. So he's got 2 years after that. So I think, you know, wish him the best of luck for sure. So another Iowa boy.
Yep, another Iowa boy, D1. Love that.
So let's we're gonna have a short show tonight. So if you got any more questions or anything, you know, involved anything, I think. Well, I'm trying to think of what was the dumbest question. You know, I never got that. I never figured that out. Sam Stoll, how many tacos he could eat? Was it tacos? I never got. He was supposed to take the challenge, and he never got back to us.
Oh man, we should hit it up. I know the spot right there near Carver. We can go and we can have a competition.
Did you listen to Tommy Blood Round on Takedown this weekend?
I didn't. I was wondering if Brad was ready on the beat button.
He killed it.
Yeah?
He did a really good job.
What was good about Blood Round this week?
He's just genuine. It's no softballs. He just is a genuine person, and I think he did a really good job. We had Mike Chapman, Mike Finn, myself, Alex Williamson from IA Russell was also on the show. So she had her 2 cents in there. So it was a good little round table. Are you going to go out to Omaha, or what's your plans?
Thinking about it. So I guess got to work some things out. I'm going to miss juniors again. Seems like we missed juniors. That 1 year was up in Madison too when we went together. But so I won't be there for that. Some interesting, Kanan Store at 66 kilos, obviously the biggest threat. Be interesting to see what Carter Happel can do. Just kind of see where he's at after his Vegas tournament wasn't as well as didn't go as well as he was hoping. Sammy Colbray up at 96. Junior weights are different. So I think he's at 96. I know Colin Moore is going to be there, but again, Iowa State's got the 2 guys, probably the biggest threats to make a junior world team. So that'll be fun to watch, Friday for people looking for something to do, take up time while they're supposed to be working.
Yeah, what's the schedule? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think it's just juniors Friday, seniors Saturday.
Yeah, it's a Friday. I think I'll be out there all day Friday, so we'll be out in Omaha at least. Hopefully you come out on Saturday. I won't be there. I've got the Goodwill bike crawl plus dance party on Saturday. So if you're a biker in the Des Moines area, hit me up on Twitter. Love for you to be on this bike ride. We raise money for thrift stores, Salvation Army. Just give money back to them. Just donate the money, and it's a pretty good time. So, couple questions coming in here. People asked about the 3A transfer news. I kind of figured that was a big reason why people were tuning in. But basically, what you need to know is the Southeast Spoke's going to more than likely land somebody someone within Class 3A here soon. So it is a state place winner. So I will get some more information on that, let you know when I can break that. Obviously, on iarussell.com, we'll be doing that. So if you got any questions, hit me up on Twitter. Be happy to answer them behind the scenes or whatnot. But Ross, I got nothing else. Short, sweet podcast. I got some stuff to do at home. I know you do, always with the wife and keeping our families happy. So,
yeah, and we're looking forward to hopefully some more Shots Fired coming out.
Yeah, next week, Shots Fired podcast. That is from Mac Ryder and Eric Scher. So if you haven't subscribed to that yet, it's going to be coming out every 2 weeks on IA Russell. It's going to be kind of a fun little podcast, I would assume. Anyways, hopefully they are going to do some shots fired with what we find out in Omaha. So I want to get your quick picks here, though. All right, with some of the big matchups. Dake, Burroughs, who are you taking?
I'll stick with the champ.
Champ?
Yep.
Okay.
What are you going?
I'm taking the champ too. In Nebraska, best of 3, sitting in the finals. I mean, Dake's the only guy that has a shot. I wish they would have had best of 3 in Vegas for the U.S. Open. I said this on Takedown Radio that, I won't say it's unfair, but, because obviously they earned that, but if we're going to have a best of 3 in Lincoln, why not do a best of 3 in Vegas in the finals? Right? So like Jaden Cox, he hasn't wrestled. I mean, he earned it, right? He's a world medalist, but he hasn't wrestled any freestyle since then. So he hasn't wrestled any international events. So Mike Finn was saying that you maybe should have some qualifying tournaments after that just to make sure that I don't know. I get what you're saying, but what do you think of best of 3 at Vegas? You know, if you're gonna be able to sit in that 3, it's a huge advantage, like a huge advantage for Tony Ramos to be there, right?
Man, that's I mean, you kind of run into, is it too much wrestling, you know, trying to do a best of 3 in Vegas, best of 3 in Lincoln. Like you said, it's huge advantage. It's more or less to get those guys medaling. I don't know how you could turn down watching Ramos wrestle, you know, was it Garrett in the finals? Get some more Burroughs Dake that we saw there in Vegas. Hey, do you think Jason Knowles going to make the 70 kilo finals against James Green? Buy into that hype?
He would be the only one that would make it an interesting match, I guess, I think. I think James Green is going to be the guy there, but Nolf is a guy that definitely has the firepower. He's willing to let it fly. Let's say that. He's willing to let it fly and take some chances. It'll bite him in the butt sometimes, but I think he's the only guy at that weight class that can.
Is Zane going to beat Frank and wrestle Oliver in the finals?
I'll say yes.
Ooh, yeah, you gotta, because you know I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I'll say yes. I've been doubting Frank all the time, and he's proved me wrong. Same with Jaden Cox, and I think David Taylor's gonna get it done finally. So those are those 2 things. But I want you to think about that. That we'll lead the show on this on the best of 3 in Vegas. I don't think it'd be too much wrestling because. You know, it's just like it's like the NBA playoffs. I mean, you're not playing 7 games in one night, but any of our big events, right? To get like the cup or to be world champs, you have to win best of 5, best of 7 games. So we should do that in wrestling. Make it a little bit more interesting.
Would you have wrestled? Just gotta know. Would you have wrestled best of 3 then at 86? And 61, 97 at the U.S. Open because there's already a medalist then? Or is that just best of 1 there?
I think you do it. If there's already a guy sitting in the finals, then you only have to win 1 match. That's just off the top of my head. But I think when I rethink about it, I would think that you have to win 3. I would think Team USA Wrestling would want to know who the best guy is, you know, consistent wrestler, and not, you know, in freestyle you can get a takedown and leg lace and it's over so fast, right? So, you know, maybe the athletes wouldn't agree, but I would think that some of them would want a best of 3. Again, you tell me Kyle Dake wouldn't want to go another 2 matches?
So he could say, yeah, I could see it both ways because I could see, you know, guy like Tony Ramos saying like, no, I'm going to win it, and I don't want these guys seeing me that many times. So there's a little bit of give and take, but
I mean, people can see these guys all the time. You know, that's what's so frustrating in Iowa. You know, people don't want to have live video and archives. Well, half these guys just went to Northern Plains and they went to Akron, and there's all kinds of video on these guys. Like it's 2017. If you want to, scout a guy, you can scout him, I guess. So, or do you mean like actually get the feels for him?
Both, I suppose. But either way, it doesn't. I don't know. If you're at that level, aren't you supposed to be, the guy? If you're a world medalist threat,
yeah,
shouldn't you be able to take care of business?
Exactly. Like Jordan Burroughs, said, I'm the most scouted wrestler on the planet, right? And he probably is, but all of them, you can scout anybody. So, anyways, all right, we're out for this episode of Potentially Dangerous, episode 92. If you are listening to this on iTunes, podcasts, your podcast-friendly apps, join us on Mondays at 8 o'clock on FacebookLive.com or Facebook.com/Iowa Wrestling. There's always a link on there. We try to put a link on iWrestle.com, but we like people getting the Q&As. If you can get on there, ask the Q&A ahead of time, that helps us so we're not scrambling through some of your comments in the Facebook comment section. because they don't pop up right away. We don't want to miss them all. But if you got any questions off air that you didn't want your name to pop up, shoot us a tweet at Hager Tony or at Ross Bcheck on Twitter. Be happy to ask them, or ask Ross or myself and answer them next week here on Potentially Dangerous. We will see you in Lincoln, and then we'll be talking about it next week right here on Potentially Dangerous.
Know when the whistle go.